Welcome back to World War Live, everybody. I'm your host, Conrad Franz, here May 5th. Christ is risen. I hope everybody is enjoying the Paschal season still as we move closer and closer to Ascension and Pentecost. Of course, the war in Iran and the U.S. is restarting, kind of. Of course, they announced recently over the weekend and on Monday, Project Freedom, the United States, I guess, attempt to clear the Strait of Hormuz of mines and of IRGC boats and interference and protect ships from missiles and allow ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. But it seems that it's not going as they hoped. So we are going to be discussing that, the canonization, or rather the blessing of the beginning of the process of the glorification of Father Seraphim Rose in the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia, thus the Orthodox Church as a whole. We're going to be discussing what the Rokor Synod said in their statement and a few other interesting things that they have announced. So I hope Jenny says, you announced live stream and all we're getting is awful music. Well, I can ban you for life from the chat because that's the intro music for the stream. Because when you start a stream and you just start talking immediately, no one's watching. So I could be talking to one viewer right now, or I could be talking to a combined 100 or so people across 3 platforms because we waited 6 minutes. But eWar mapping, please don't let her comment for the rest of the stream, because that's what happens when people like to talk like that. So sorry, old lady, but we'll see it on the next one. You can try your best to leave a comment on the next one and not be a retard. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope everyone is having a good week. Again, we got a lot of things to discuss. The canonization of Father Seraphim Rose is joyous news for everybody. So with all of that, I want to encourage everybody, before we dive right into the news, to go over to worldwarnow.co. That's right. Visit us on the Substack. And here we go. That's right. Give us a subscribe over on there. Get behind the paywall, and you don't just get access to all of the Ether Hour episodes. You also get access to our Q&A threads where we answer all sorts of Q&A questions. You can ask us a question every month and we'll answer it in an episode. Of course, our recent episode all about Georgia as the second Jerusalem, the funeral of Patriarch Ilya II. We have Levon Vasadze on, a Georgian monarchist, somebody who we greatly adore on the show. Of course, check out the recent World War Now episode. We made some predictions that have already come true in a lot of ways, so be sure to check all of that out. But again, if you hit the Ether Hour tab, you get access to all of the Ether Hour episodes we have ever done, including our recent interviews with Larry Johnson, our multiple episodes with former Lebanese Defense Minister Yaqub Saraf. There's our first one with him there. Warren Baylog, Zainab Al-Safar, journalist in Lebanon, Jim Jatras, beloved friend of the show, our multiple episodes with Gregory Hears, including our St. John Batatzis episode. So be sure to check all of that out. That's the best way to support the show, visiting us over at worldwarnow.co. I'll be dumping that in the comments. Everyone can head on over there and support us. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. Like the stream as well if you're watching on Substack, on X, or especially on Twitter. Be sure to like and share the stream. Really helps us out. And be sure to leave a comment as well if you're watching this on the replay. But the only other way you can really support us, the best way to do it, is on the Buy Me a Coffee. So if you go to buymeacoffee.com/World War Now, you can support us there with a one-time payment. You can make recurring payments there as well. But if you don't want to get behind the paywall every month, or you just want to give us a one-time donation, or you're already behind the paywall and want to support us even more, visit the Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/World War Now. Going to dump that in the chat as well. But don't worry, we're about to hop right into the analysis. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Sorry, when people say nonsense like, why is there music playing at the beginning of the stream? It just makes me want to never make content ever again. So it's all right though. We will be locking back in. But starting off, Project Freedom. Before we get to the good news with Father Seraphim Rose and many other things, we got to talk about this hilarious Project Freedom situation. So Project Freedom, it was this project, supposedly thousands of soldiers, dozens of planes, all sorts of ships. I mean, those 2 U.S. destroyers passed through the Strait of Hormuz under insane fire, under multiple attacks from drones and missiles from the Iranians. So that is, of course, the war ceasefire has obviously been broken, but the U.S., Hegseth, Trump, Marco Rubio have all said that, the fighting hasn't been extreme enough to justify the the ceasefire being breached. Certain Iranian sources denied, for example, that the UAE was struck. The UAE Fujairah oil refining plant, the largest and only real refining and exporting facility for crude oil in the United Arab Emirates, was not destroyed, but it was hit and struck and significantly damaged by the Iranians. I don't know who else that would have been. So it's clear to me it was Iran. They also struck several ships that were attempting to bypass this blockade and not pay the Iranian toll that the Iranians have designated. The U.S. plan was basically just hug the coast of the UAE and Oman as close as you can, and we will protect you. And it's clear, I think maybe one or two ships kind of got through, but several other South Korean ships and others came under fire and were struck. So that is the reality of the situation there. We got super chat from Ricky Barr at $9.99. Getting it started. Let's show Conrad some love. Thank you, brother, for keeping us informed with the truth. Thank you, Rick. $10, huge super chat. If anybody else wants to have their questions answered, if you have any questions about the geopolitical situation, anything else you want me to answer, be sure to send in a super chat. Another great way to support the show. So again, Christ is risen, everybody. Thank you, Rick. Great to see you in the chat. Great to see all the usual suspects hanging out in the chat, including over on Substack. We've got eWar Mapping, we've got John Anon, Gary Oak, Barbara, several other people that we love to see over there. So thank you again all so much for tuning in. But with all of that, Trump released, again, I just hyped up the American Project Freedom, but Donald Trump decided that I guess it doesn't matter anymore because here he says, based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, the tremendous military success that we have had during the campaign against the country of Iran, and additionally, the fact that great progress has been made toward a complete and final agreement with representatives of Iran, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. President Donald J. Trump. So clearly they needed a way to walk that back because it was not going to work. It's clear that in some capacity, Germany and these other countries have been somewhat spooked. Germany claims they're sending some kind of ship, radar ship or something like this, to the Persian Gulf to attempt to somehow get ships flowing through again. I don't know what the pressure really caused them to. Maybe it's the fact that Trump pulled thousands of troops out of Germany because they've refused to help him on his war for Israel. So that's the situation currently. Again, I've always maintained that this week, next week, it's very likely that the full-on shooting will begin again. That Gerald Ford has left the CENTCOM area of responsibility, and the USS George H.W. Bush has entered the CENTCOM area of responsibility. So they're back to their full double 2 warships, 2 aircraft carriers in the region to facilitate the bombing of Iran, as well as potentially its proxies, the Houthis in Yemen, as well as Hezbollah. And it seems that Israel is itching to go to war with Iran again. Trump claimed that if there is a war, if the shooting again starts with Iran, that the ceasefire in Lebanon will remain. I already know that's not true because the ceasefire in Lebanon is already broken. And if Israel starts fighting Iran, they're going to go all out there as well. So Trump can say what he wants, but he's not actually in charge here. Brittany Love ATX, $4.99. Do you mind giving some background on yourself and faith for us new subscribers? I found you through David Patrick Harry. Well, that's a good question. I guess any week someone can ask a question like this, but I have given backgrounds and whatnot, but not every stream. But as far as Orthodoxy, I've been Orthodox for almost 7 years. About 7 years ago was when I started attending church, visiting Orthodox churches and whatnot. And it is January 2020, I was received into the church in the Antiochian Orthodox Archdiocese. I'm 27 years old. I have a degree from the King's College in Media, Culture, and the Arts with a focus in journalism, as well as a minor in theology. Not that that means anything. I took like an Islam class and some biblical studies classes, historical theology, these other things, but it was a Protestant school, so it's not like I was learning a whole lot. But yeah, I started World War Now in September 2022 with Dimitri, who I knew through the Jay Dyer Discord server, and David Erhan. I've known Jay since 2019, friends with him. I'm friends with David, and that's what we've been doing. So yeah, Orthodox Christian podcast. I'm a journalist by not just because I want to be, not just calling myself that as a podcaster, but I have a degree in journalism, whatever that's worth. But Yeah, the reason the show is focused so much on orthodoxy is because I didn't see anyone else really with a journalistic geopolitical analysis show that was orthodox and made orthodox a priority in that capacity. I mean, look at the Duran. It's considered the most popular geopolitics podcast in the world. Both hosts are orthodox, but faith almost never comes into the analysis. And I'm not faulting them for that, but I think orthodox people that are orthodox and understand history, already have an advantage when interpreting geopolitics because they have, I would say, the most developed worldview. And more people, I think, need to lean into that. That's why I focus on the prophecies and these other sorts of things. All sorts of people maybe would call our show evidence of Spengler's thesis that as empire and Western civilization collapses, people return to superstitious faith. But Spengler himself was fundamentally too much of a rationalist to begin with, or rather not truly a Christian in that regard, so we might not understand. But we have $5 from eWar Mapping, who forgot to send his question, which I will be reading here. He says, what are your thoughts on the prophecy of World War III flaring up in June with the completion of the E65 highway in Greece? And people are talking about June being a time, I know certain Eldrisses in Greece are talking about how Erdogan's plane may be shot down coming back from Libya towards Turkey, and that will be the fulfillment of the prophecy of Erdogan's fall. Very likely that Israel could support something like that. Obviously, the highway is in a lot of the prophecies. St. Cosmas was the one talking a lot about the highway and things that will happen in Epirus over in Western Greece. But again, I think June and I think May will see the Iran US fighting flare up again, whether it will be like decisively decided and finished with a deal or a nuclear weapon used or something. Obviously, that remains to be seen. But if May seems we'll see the catalyst of that, then June obviously could see Israel move on to Turkey. And if Erdogan falls and there's unrest there, then Russia could be moving in quicker than they may like to. But of course, the highway situation, again, because so much more focus has been in the Middle East and so much relatively less has been going on in the Balkans, I've thought that potentially some of those realities may be mitigated due to the growth of orthodoxy in the West and the repentance of so many people. But fundamentally, we still hear about weapons being provided to Ukraine from Kosovo, Serbia, Bosnia Herzegovina. We hear rumors of Turkey arming groups there, and Israel, unfortunately, also has a huge foothold there. Milorad Dodik, Vucic, the Serbian bloc there, is very much an ally with Israel against their Muslim and even their Catholic in Croatia sometimes enemies. So I think it's very possible, and I think June, if those things happen with Erdogan, then undoubtedly that will be what happens. But I wouldn't say I'm making that hard prediction myself. $10 more from Jonathan Kelly. He says, next high holiday, Shavuot 2026 is May 21st. Fighting resumes. That could be true. It could very much be true. If the Jews are timing it all out as they are with their numerological strangeness, then maybe May 21st. So that's what, a little over 2 weeks from now, things really get going again. So maybe that's why Trump and Hegseth are like, all right, we have a casus belli to start fighting again right now. Our favorite goyim in the UAE got struck, but we got to wait to Shavuot, of course, because the Jews won't have max power if they don't do it on some high holiday. But speaking of no military solution, Abbas Araghchi, who is currently in China meeting with top Chinese officials, he said that the flare-ups in the Strait of Hormuz on Monday show that there is no military solution to the crisis, and warned the U.S. and UAE against being drawn into a quagmire in the region. Events in Hormuz make clear that there's no military solution to a political crisis, Araghchi wrote on X. As talks are making progress with Pakistan's gracious effort, the U.S. should be wary of being dragged back into a quagmire by ill-wishers. So should the UAE. Project Freedom is Project Deadlock, the Iranian diplomat added. The incidents on Monday, which involved the U.S. and Iran trading fire and Iranian drones and missiles targeting the UAE, came after Iran submitted a new proposal to the U.S. through Pakistan to bring a permanent end to the conflict. Iran's foreign ministry said on Sunday that Tehran was reviewing the U.S. response to the proposal, but then Trump announced a new military operation to guide commercial ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. Axios reported that Trump went ahead with the escalation because he was fed up with the stalemate with Iran. One source close to the president told Axios reporter Barak Ravid that the U.S. military operation was the beginning of a process that could lead to a confrontation with the Iranians. The source suggested the purpose of it could be to create a situation to frame Iran as the aggressor, saying that the humanitarian mission means if the Iranians do something, they will be the bad guys and we will have the legitimacy to act. Well, that already completely collapses because Iran acted and the U.S. didn't do anything. So that is where we're at. $4.99 more from Britley Love ATX. I think my biggest struggle with Orthodoxy is comparing current events to prophecy. It reminds me of my old Baptist days that I tried to get away from. Well, again, we aren't talking about the end of the world here, and we aren't talking about anything that is somehow, outside of the tradition of Christianity. But ultimately, so far, everything that has occurred is accurate, of course, as Elder Theodore Aguirre Farangidi said, with the striking on that fateful Friday morning when the Jews strike the nuclear program of Iran. That has already occurred, of course, back in the 12-Day War in June. And of course, St. Paisios prophesied the flattening of Gaza by the Israelis and basically the attempt by the Zionists to take over the whole world using, evil forces and black magic, which is part of all of this. The timing of this war that we're witnessing right now started on Purim, on the eve of the Jewish holiday celebrating the slaughter of Persian people. And in the New Testament, what does Paul say? Paul does say, "You will prophesy," speaking to believers. But what we don't believe in is this crazy. The Baptist prophecy is literally all about Israel and all this other kind of stuff and these blood moons. But I was raised Protestant in many ways, in many Baptist traditions, and most Protestants fundamentally don't really, outside of Israel Christian Zionism, they don't talk about prophecy at all. I was raised in a Baptist church in the Caribbean for a lot of years with a lot of black people, and there wasn't a whole lot to talk about prophecy then. I went to an evangelical sort of mega church kind of thing then for many years in my youth and middle school and high school. Almost no talk of prophecy there. And then again, I eventually became Orthodox, of course. And that's not to say that I became Orthodox because of all of these prophecy talks or anything. But ultimately, if the prophecies aren't for you, you don't have to pay attention to them. Of course, they only exist for our repentance. So if you've gotten the message and you've decided to turn your heart to a fuller repentance, to try to mitigate these events and to try to pray for the whole world, as Saint Seraphim of Sarov says, acquire a spirit of peace, and thousands around you will be saved. Then, if it gives you anxiety or you don't like it, you don't need to keep up with it. But Metropolitan Neophytos of Morphu, what does the Bible say? It says, "By your fruits you will know them." And when I became Orthodox about a month and a half later, almost every Orthodox church around the world decided to close their doors, just like every Protestant and Catholic church, and believe in this fake virus nonsense and not open their doors until the state allowed them to. And so that wasn't good. I was like, is this the Church of Christ? And so I sought other resources, and I saw a bishop in Cyprus who was keeping his churches open and defying the authorities and doing the blessing of the waters and theophany and doing Palm Sunday like you're supposed to. And I'm like, oh, who is this guy? It's Metropolitan Neophytos of Morphu, this guy. And I'm like, what else does this guy talk about? What else is he into? This is the guy that's standing up to the Antichrist agenda. This is the guy still performing the sacraments. This was the guy speaking out against the vaccine and these other Antichrist agendas. What else was he talking about? Well, he was the one talking about the Third World War. He's the one talking about the prophecies of St. Paisios and other prophecies talked about in eschatological visions of the blessed. And he was the one refusing to concelebrate with the schismatics, or even bishops that worked with the schismatics, and worked with other bishops to write books like The Ecclesiastical Crisis in Ukraine, and so many other incredible things. Of course, he supports Metropolitan Tychikos, who I also got to know. So fundamentally, even if, no one would say this is something you have to keep up with, but to say that, to countersignal it, or to say it isn't important, would be to say that I would say the greatest current living bishop in our church is focusing on something incorrect. And of course, most bishops don't spend a whole lot of time talking about this. A few others have, but Metropolitan Neophytos was told by St. Paisios, St. Porphyrios, St. Iakovos, St. Euthemios, so many other incredible saints, that this was something he needed to do, and that after his 50th year, he would begin to speak and to spread the word of the prophecies, and that his words would be heard all around the world. This was said in the 80s, and he was like, how is this even possible? And St. Porphyrios told him, with the technology of the time. And now Metropolitan Neophytos is in his mid-60s. He's inspired many people across the world, including in the English language, like myself, who have now built tens of thousands of audience strong, analyzing geopolitics from a perspective that he fundamentally, instilled in me and in a lot of people, in a time that, unfortunately, so soon after being received into the church, I was being bombarded with doubts and with demonic attacks from demons in the noetic realm, of course, but also just in the world. I took communion, 2-3 times or something like that, a few times, until and then everything shut down. So thank you, Metropolitan Jovitos, and a lot of people, these prophecies and things are helping a lot of people kind of stay grounded and centered in a time of deep turmoil. And look, I mean, I live in Texas. It's got the cheapest gas in the country, and we're paying like well into the 420, $430 a gallon. I know people in California, the West Coast, are paying up to $8 a gallon in some places. And between that and upcoming food prices rising and other things I think are coming around the bend, again, I know America has a bit of a tradition of doomsday occultism, but fundamentally, every day we move closer to the second coming of Christ, and every day becomes clearer to me, at least, that we are in the Third World War. We have $5 from Porphyry Allen. Cinco de Mayo, Christ is risen. Yes, happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. Good Tuesday evening. Pour yourself a Modelo or your favorite Mexican beer, and put on your sombrero. And maybe we'll get some indigenous South Americans in the ethno guesser game today. But so let me check the Telegram first to see any news that's gone down. Of course, Abbas Araghchi's visit to China is a big deal, considering Trump claims and this might be one of the reasons why Trump might be going with what Jonathan Kelly says with Shavat, May 21st, because I believe it's mid-May. Is it May 17th or is it May 12th is the day when Trump is going to China to meet with Xi Jinping, and he definitely doesn't want there to be fighting ongoing. I think he may have realized that China in ways is also put on the back foot if that is going on, so maybe he's willing to make it there regardless. But Abbas Araghchi is there. The fact that Trump's going to be there just a few days later shows that I think the Iranians have the ear of the Chinese a bit more closely than Donald Trump. What we have here is from the Libertarian Institute by Kyle Anzalone, great writer. He says, Israel prepares to return to war as Trump attempts to break Iran's hold on Strait of Hormuz. We already seen how that's collapsed. But it says here, Israeli leaders are watching events in the Strait of Hormuz closely and preparing to strike Iran. Israel has been pushing for the U.S. to abandon the diplomatic process and greenlight renewed attacks on Iran. Remarking on the situation, an Israeli official told Ynet that Tel Aviv is prepared to resume attacks on Iran. Trump is challenging them. And now we will see how important Hormuz really is to them. If he moves ships and tankers through and oil and goods flow over their heads, it means the control of the strait de facto. It means he controls the strait de facto, and Iran has lost its last lever of pressure. In any case, it increases the chances of a return to fighting, they explained. Well, that collapsed. The Iranians still very much control the strait. And on Monday, ships attempted to exit the Strait of Hormuz and were attacked by Iran. The U.S. claims 2 ships successfully transited the waterway. Again, all this has since been collapsed. After several days of intense Israeli bombing, a ceasefire was declared in Lebanon. Tel Aviv entered into talks with Beirut. Israel is demanding that the Lebanese military demilitarize Hezbollah. The Israeli official speaking with Ynet said that talks are just a show and will not result in a deal. There's nothing real there, an Israeli official said. The Lebanese government does not want to and cannot disarm Hezbollah, but the talks continue in order to drive Hezbollah crazy. And this is more here from anti-war on the Hezbollah issue. Quick transition there. Heavy fighting reportedly erupted in the area of Deir Serian on the border between Israel and Lebanon, and well inside the Israeli-occupied Yellow Line area of southern Lebanon. Israel reportedly advanced troops into the town, and Hezbollah attacked them. Details are still emerging about the exchange of fire, but the IDF reported 2 Israeli soldiers were moderately wounded in the incident and were taken to a hospital. Hezbollah video also showed a drone attacking and damaging an Israeli tank, though it's unclear if that video is from today or a previous incident. Israel responded with new evacuation orders covering a number of Lebanese towns, ordering their populations to flee at least 1 kilometer away and into open areas for their own safety. 2 distinct sets of evacuation orders were issued, notably including the Christian village of Debel. Debel has twice come into media attention because Israeli forces within the town have been destroying plainly civilian infrastructure like solar panels, and earlier in the conflict, an image was released of an Israeli soldier smashing a statue of Jesus with a sledgehammer. While Israel has repeatedly presented itself as only fighting Hezbollah and in no way attacking broader civilian infrastructure within Lebanon, the repeated targeting of Debel, which seemingly had no connection to Hezbollah even notionally, strongly suggests the opposite. Indeed, last week, commanders told the Israeli media outlet Haaretz that their mission was effectively to destroy Shiite villages to displace the Shiite population from southern Lebanon. Even this seems to narrow the scope of the destruction too much, however, as Debel shows that Lebanese Christians are hardly immune to such destruction. And let me see that video here. Go. I'm pretty sure this is from an older incident because I saw this a few days ago, but nonetheless, impressive FPV footage. The Hezbollah drone teams continue to wreak havoc on Israel, the IDF invaders. And they've caused, again, like I said, a lot of IDF brigades to pull out of Lebanon and be repositioned elsewhere. But if anyone else has any questions, feel free to send in any super chats that you have. Another update here. It says Russia, Ukraine declares ceasefire that will begin on different days. Russia said on Monday that it would observe a ceasefire with Ukraine on May 8th and May 9th to observe Victory Day, when Russia celebrates the Soviet Union's victory against Nazi Germany in World War II. But it's unclear if the truce will hold, as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky responded by declaring a ceasefire that will start earlier. As of today, there has been no official appeal to Ukraine regarding the modality of a cessation of hostilities that is being claimed on Russian social media, Zelensky wrote on X. We believe that human life is far more valuable than any anniversary celebration. In this regard, we are announcing a ceasefire regime starting at midnight on the night of May 5th through 6th. On the time left until that moment, it is realistic to ensure that silence takes effect. We will act reciprocally starting from that moment, the Ukrainian leader added. So they just responded with some nonsense that justified not, they're like, no, here's a real ceasefire, and it's some completely different, and we're going to respond if you attack us on this different day. Russia's ceasefire declaration came with a warning that if Ukrainian attacks targeted Moscow during Victory Day celebration, the Russian military would respond with major attacks on the Ukrainian capital, a response to Zelensky suggesting Ukraine could hit a Russian military parade that will take place in Moscow on May 9th. Should the Kiev regime attempt to implement criminal plans to disrupt the celebration of the 81st anniversary of victory in the Great Patriotic War, the Russian armed forces will launch a retaliatory massive missile strike in the center of Kiev, the Russian Defense Ministry said. Russia, despite its capabilities, has previously refrained from such actions for humanitarian reasons. We warn the civilian population of Kiev and employees of foreign diplomatic missions of the need to leave the city promptly, the ministry added. On Monday, a Ukrainian drone hit a high-rise apartment building in Moscow, according to Russia's TASS news agency. 26 Ukrainian drones targeted the Russian capital from May 2nd to May 4th. Heavy Russian attacks hit Ukraine on Monday, killing at least 6 people in Kharkov and 2 in the Kherson region, according to Ukrainian officials. Ukraine has also stepped up its attacks on Russian oil infrastructure, hitting infrastructure on the Black Sea, causing massive fires and raining oil down from the sky. And that strike on those apartment complexes in Moscow, in that area, was actually just a few hundred yards away from where I stayed in Moscow when I was there last time. So the street that it was on, I walked on that very street. So it's a little close to home. Porphyry Allen, $5. St. Porphyrios Tech Fund contribution. Thank you, sir. We are the tech that is so demonic and enslaves us in many ways. Still, St. Porphyrios, who Metropolitan Neophytos calls the patron saint of technology in many ways, he knew that it would still be used for good. God would take what is evil and still, in many ways, see it used for good. David C. 6732 for the war funding. Thank you, sir. Your $10 will go directly to the IRGC for new missiles to bomb Israel. Just kidding. It's jokes. This is an entirely American operation. But thank you so much for the support, everybody. The situation in Russia, Ukraine, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if the Russians are forced to just keep fighting on the 8th and 9th because the Ukrainians don't want to ceasefire for 2 days, but still want to save face like they are. But let me check Telegram one more time. Seems like that is a lot of the recent World War III news. On to the good news about Father Seraphim Rosen. We're gonna share screen and we're gonna read a lot of this whole document here, the whole statement from Rokor and the Synod. Oh, we have $5 from Silversight. Will you ever consider formal debating? I think you would be quite good at it. Well, Dimitri and I debated Haas that one time, and it was pretty enraging. We did destroy him and embarrass him pretty sufficiently, but I don't know. It takes a lot of time, and it just depends on the subject. Like, obviously, I'm not the guy to debate, like, Christian versus atheism. Like, there's better people to do that. there's better people to debate other specific issues. I mean, I would maybe debate someone on like, should you still support Donald Trump? Or if somebody like didn't believe in the prophecies or was a traditional Orthodox Christian but thought they were stupid, maybe I could discuss something with them. But I don't know. Some people have wanted me to debate Russia, Ukraine, and stuff, and I don't know. I mean, most people I would be debating, we wouldn't really have any kind of shared value system whatsoever. Like maybe I could debate another Orthodox Christian that's generally conservative on the Russia Ukraine issue, but like, why would I debate a libtard on that issue? We would just be talking past each other. So if some people have some ideas, maybe, and there's an interesting topic, and I had a month or two to prepare, maybe I could do a certain debate, but I don't really have like a strong idea on like, yes, this is specifically what I would want to debate. I mean, I don't know, certain people, um, I mean, I've discussed like race being real and other things with like J.Y. Lewis and other people. We've discussed a few other things. Maybe we do some call-in shows. We've thought about doing that. Maybe I'm going to I've potentially thought about starting a second stream, maybe a Thursday stream. So when the third, and to the point where, my Tuesday nights may not be completely free at certain times. So may start a Thursday stream, and maybe that stream we'll do call-ins on Discord or X Spaces or something like that. So who knows? But thank you for the $5 silver site. Jonathan Kelly, $5. What is the formal decision with Father Seraphim Rose? About to get into that in 1 second. And then he says, debate space is fake. I mean, I could debate space is fake. It would just take a lot of prep. And again, there's other people that are better at debating that than me. Like Witsit Gets It is very good at debating that. A few other people are. And, maybe you could do a 2v2 debate, like me and Anthony versus, I don't know, your favorite space believer Orthodox. But like, I'm not going to debate like some scientist or some idiot that's just going to be like, I have a PhD, and then just throw a bunch of like gobbledygook word salad technical terms at me that, he'll be like, oh, and you don't know what that means, therefore you're stupid. Like, I don't want to play some game like that. But, if people want to debate it maybe from the Christian perspective, or maybe make the claim that Orthodox Christians have to believe that the earth is round or that space is real or something, then, maybe I could debate something like that. But I mean, if we want to do these more informally, we could just do this in the Discord server or on Twitter Spaces as well. So, if people had specific ideas, or if people wanted to call me out and debate me in a somewhat friendly manner, then, if people want to set that up, go right ahead. But, I do 3, almost going up to 4 shows a week. And when I go on guest appearances, which I try to do weekly, that's, 5 appearances a week. So between that and staying up to date on everything that I want to know to bring the analysis, and reading the other historical texts and things, I like to spend my time reading to stay up to date on things, that on top of the other responsibilities that I have that I don't tell the audience here. It's a full-time job. So maybe Anthony and I could do the tandem space is fake debate if anyone could find 2 ortho space cucks that would be willing to step up to the plate. But yeah, people do love their debates, real. But let's get in here with the situation with the synod. This is the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia synodal website. Announced on Munich, March 5th, 2026, the Council of Bishops of the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia has taken place from April 29th to May 5th, 2026, in the convent of the Venerable New Martyr Grand Duchess Elizabeth in Buchendorf, Germany. The Council of Bishops of the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia met, convening in connection with the celebration of the centenary of the German diocese. The proceedings of the council, presided over by His Eminence Metropolitan Nicholas of Eastern America and New York, first hierarch of the Russian Church abroad, were participated in by His Eminence Metropolitan Mark of Berlin and Germany, their Eminences Archbishops Kirill of San Francisco in Western America and Gabriel of Montreal in Canada, their Graces the Bishops John of Caracas in South America, Irene of London and Western Europe, Theodosia of Manhattan, Luke of Syracuse, James of Sonora, Job of Stuttgart, Spiridon of Toronto, Michael of Boston, and Peter of Seattle. At the session of the Council of Bishops on Thursday, 30th of April, having discussed various liturgical and calendrical questions, it was resolved to entrust Bishop Peter of Seattle and Archpriest Seraphim Gon to review the text of the prayers, Save, O God, Thy People. These are some proposed by Archimandrite Roman Krasovsky to introduce amendments to the same. So these are some liturgical changes. It says they listened to a talk from Priest Roman Tarabrin from the Sretensky Theological Academy, who I've been to. I visited the Sretensky Theological Academy located at Sretensky Monastery in the center of Moscow, entitled The Experience of the Russian Orthodox Church in Formulating a Bioethical Position, the Case of Assisted Reproductive Technologies. Thereafter, a commission on bioethical questions was established, to which were appointed Bishops Luke of Syracuse and Job of Stuttgart, with the right to co-opt into its membership ecclesiastical figures, as well as scholars from amongst the Orthodox laity. So I think that'll be quite interesting. Of course, what everyone really wants to hear, we'll get down to here. On Saturday, 2nd of May, the Council of Bishops, having heard a report by Deacon Pavel Lisitsyn, a cleric of the Diocese of Great Britain and Western Europe, resolved to invoke God's blessing upon the establishment of a charitable fund for the support of the clergy. On the same day, the Council considered the report of Bishop James of Sonora, a chairman of the Commission for the Study of the Life, Legacy, and Veneration of the ever-memorable hieromonk Seraphim Rose. On the basis of this report, the following determination was made: to receive the report, having recognized the righteous course of life from the ever-memorable hieromonk Seraphim, to bless the process of preparing his ecclesiastical glorification among the ranks of our venerable fathers, and 3, to invoke God's blessing upon the further work of the aforementioned commission under the chairmanship of His Grace Bishop James. And then the other big news, and this is the other relevant stuff, was on Monday, May 4th, in discussing the question of filling the vacant see of Mid-America, the Council of Bishops resolved to release Archbishop Gabriel of Montreal and Canada from the administration of the Mid-American Diocese, expressing gratitude to him for his labors, and to appoint His Grace Bishop Spiridon as Bishop of Chicago and Mid-America. On the same day, the Council heard the report of Bishop Peter of Seattle on the liturgical traditions of the Russian Church abroad, and the report of Metropolitan Mark of Berlin in Germany, entitled On Certain Saints Encountered in the Course of My Life, towards the opening of a conciliar discussion on the glorification of the pious strugglers of the Russian Church abroad who embody her spirit and heritage. Following His Eminence's presentation and the ensuing discussion, the task of preparing materials on Metropolitan Filaret Voznesensky, Archbishop Tikhon Troitsky, and a number of other pious individuals venerated in the diaspora, presenting them for consideration by the Synod of Bishops by the end of the year, was entrusted to Archbishop Kirill and Bishop Luke. And of course, Metropolitan Filaret, Archbishop Tikhon. I assume some of these other pious individuals include potentially Brother Jose Munoz, Archbishop Averki of Jordanville, among other very, very pious and holy Rocor elders who have reposed in the 20th century. So yes, now also Archbishop Gabriel is no longer the filling in, as it were, for the Diocese of Chicago and Mid-America, of which, if I was in Rocor, that would be my diocese. When I visit Rocor churches around here, that is who we commemorate. So now we will be commemorating Bishop Spiridon. I guess he wasn't, maybe he will be promoted to Archbishop instead of just being Bishop, but I don't know all the details on that. Maybe some Rocor Chads in the chat can let me know. Porphyry Allen, Conrad doing the reading for us tonight so we can enjoy a brewski on the Cinco de Drinko. So true. That was a lot of reading. Sorry, I thought that the paragraph about the vacant see being filled and other things were farther up, so I ended up reading some stuff that no one really cared about. But incredible news. My prediction, my assumption, and maybe it won't be quite as fast as this, but I assume this is beginning of May. We have all of June, really all of May, June, July, and August. So that gives us about 4 months before September 2nd, which is the day of Father Seraphim's blessed repose. I predict in these few months it'll probably be preparing to have what I imagine could be all of the bishops of America in Platina at at St. Herman's Monastery in California. And I don't know where everybody would stay. It would be a logistical situation. They'd have to figure all of that out. I don't know if maybe they would do it at, maybe they do it at the cathedral in San Francisco, but I'm assuming they would go do it at his relics out in Platina. And I know that obviously all the Rocor bishops and so many priests would try to be there. Oh, so many OCA people would try to be there. A huge amount of Antiochians would be there. The Serbs, obviously, they would all be there because it's their monastery. So I assume there's going to have to be collaboration with the Serbs on this situation. The real question is, would the Greeks show up? Would Elpidophoros himself show up? Would they send a different bishop? Would they send Metropolitan Constantine? Would, is it Sebastian or Bishop Gerasimos, Metropolitan Gerasimos of the West Coast, would he show up? I feel like there'd be somewhat of an obligation, but so in many ways, this could be an opportunity to, have a real pan-Orthodox American moment, and maybe some side discussions among the bishops on a United Orthodox jurisdiction, and Father Seraphim being one of the catalysts for that. John Anon says there will probably be a service at Platina and a major service at the cathedral in San Francisco. That could be real. We could see maybe one bishop from each jurisdiction represented at Platina, as well as the ROCOR and the Serbs, and then a whole bigger thing for more people at the cathedral in San Francisco. But as your favorite neighborhood Orthodox journalist, I will be making it to Platina whenever this occurs. I've never been there, but I will be, the moment it is announced, I will be making arrangements to be out there. I may bring some people along, so stay tuned for all of that. But I will very much be attending such a day and such an event, which will be very, very exciting. Thank you again, everyone, for sending in all of your super chats. That is our Seraphim Rose news. We have one other piece of news I wanted to discuss on the show this week, and that is Alberta independence. That is right. 301,620 signatures have officially been announced for the Alberta independence petition. That is far beyond the required threshold to trigger the Alberta independence vote on October 19th, a massive day for the Alberta independence movement. And it says here, massive turnout. Hundreds of Albertans have gathered outside Elections Alberta for the handoff of the Alberta independence petitions. Blue Alberta flags are lining the streets, waving from trucks, cars, and the crowd as this movement enters its next stage. You see a lot of people very excited for Alberta independence. And Alberta, it's not the most populated province of Canada, only about 5 to 6 million people, but they do have Canada's third largest city, Calgary, Edmonton, which is fourth or fifth largest city. So some very large cities, as well as some of the most naturally beautiful parts of Canada. And of course, a vast majority, along with Saskatchewan, of the natural resources. So at this point, there's going to be a huge fight on the validity of the signatures. The group of people trying to stay in Canada have gotten signatures. So I guess there will be maybe even competing ballot initiatives. I don't know. I think there really should only be one. The question is, what is the exact question? Let me read it exactly for news purposes. One second here. Either way, it's, do you support the establishment of Alberta as an independent nation separate from Canada, or something like that? So I very much support it. I was asking some people online today. My one worry would be, in theory, obviously this would be supported by more freedom-minded people, and I assume there are even developers interested that would be able to get around certain current Canadian regulations. Of course, there's disputes on what would happen to all the Crown federal land in Alberta, all the First Nations territory. I think the Albertans should take it all and challenge the Canadians to enforce the weird map they would like it to be. But of course, I'm interested in the protection of natural beauty in these types of regions. So I wouldn't want to see all these things handed over to predatory development and other things. So I would hope actually that an independent Alberta would expand, national parks and these other sorts of things. But short of that, I think that is still very much likely. I think there is a real possibility that something like this happens. My personal guess, honestly, is that probably only gets maybe 40% of the vote, but who knows? They might have some things planned, some campaign things planned, and things happen in Canada. The government is crazy there. People saw the trucker convoy and some of these other developments, and the immigration situation alone, I think, has radicalized enough people to where there really is likely a silent majority. The question is, how many people in Calgary and Edmonton and minorities and immigrants can the forever Canadian, the Remainers as they are, how many can they get out there to pad their vote? That's the real question. But I don't see anyone saying too much about Alberta secession. We'd love to hear anyone's thoughts about that. Feel free to send in whatever super chat question thoughts you have left. But we all know why the rest of you are here. It's time to play Ethno Guesser. That's right. We're going to be guessing the ethnicity of some people. So here we go. We're going to play today's game. Hope everyone's locked in. Excuse me. Interesting. Not sure what we're looking at here, but man, I don't know. The woman looks more like Arab, and the guy looks more like something you'd find like around the Black Sea. What are we thinking, fam? Usually, this if we've done a lot wrong. 39 episodes here. I've learned my lesson about outsourcing to chat. I should really just be going on my own intuition, but I really have no idea with this. These people just look like mocha. Anyone Substack chat? Any thoughts? Wife material. Well, there's no wife material country, Jonathan, but I see what you're saying. Is this like Morocco, or is this some more like Basque kind of nonsense? Like if no one else guesses, that's probably where I'm probably gonna hit something like this or this. Anyone? No? No one's interested in in guessing? We got 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He says, I don't think Basque. Well, I'm in Morocco, so we're going to hit that. That's right, baby. Trans-Mediterranean. I would have gotten some points up there too, but I was exactly correct. Hit with the 5,000. These are some Andalusians right here. Widespread Mediterranean subtype with many morphological features, intermediate between Eurafricanid and Gracile Mediterranid. Personally, possibly a Gracilized Eurafricanid that spread west through ancient migration that lasted up to antiquity. Example, the Phoenicians, today common in North Africa from Morocco to Egypt, high concentrations in Tunisia and Algeria, also in Western Arabia and Southern Iberia, sometimes Sicily, Sardinia, Canary Islands, other parts of Southern Europe. Yeah. Yep. Real Umayyad Caliphate moments. Oh boy. Ah, man, this looks like... Is this like some Yemen, like... I have no idea. Literally no idea. At least we got that 5,000 at the beginning. It's like some Yemen, Oman... kind of something. I got no idea, man. It's got to be like... Yeah, I'm thinking Oman, or... It's definitely Arabian Peninsula or like Egypt, I feel. It's my assumption at this point. Yeah, someone says Bengalis that look... Yeah, I mean, I was thinking it might be something over here too, but I really have no idea. I think I'm going to go with Oman, though. I was right on Egypt. Siwa. Distinctive Berber type, typical for Eastern Sahara Desert, typified by the population of the sea. Yeah, I had a feeling it could have been Egypt. I literally was going to go like probably here. So, we were, I don't hate myself for that. It is what it is. Next round. Oh boy. This has to be like Bulgaria or something, right? It's like Bulgaria. I don't know about Georgia, but tell me, beside, if this isn't Bulgaria, what is it? What could we possibly be working with at this point? Yeah, people saying Bulgar. I remember this one. It was Eastern Europe. Yeah. Bulgarian or Vulgar Bulgar. I feel like I just got to go like right there. Okay. 5,000. Oh, these are just East Alpinid. Okay, we're good. West Asian type that is anthropometrically and morphologically very similar to European alpinids. Most common in the mountain zones of Anatolia to northern Syria and Iraq, also found in western Iran, Caucasus, Palestine, and Lebanon. Extends in lower frequencies up to Tajikistan, across Arabia into southwestern Europe. The type can easily be confused with similar-looking Turanid admixture individuals. So we could have just guessed in literal China. I guess you can kind of see a bit of the almond eye looking going on, but all right, 2 5,000s and an 800. We're doing it. We're doing okay. Okay. These got to be Orientals. I mean, I guess this could be like, I guess they could be like Kyrgyz or something, but where's Alan? Where's Porphyry Allen? We need the Asians in chat here. I don't know exactly what I'm looking at. STD Moscow taxi driver, very real. But that's the question. Are we looking in like some Kyrgyz, or are these like some of this, or this? Are we over here? I think this looks more Central Asian to me. But it could also be some of this bullshit. I don't know. Kazakhstan's a big place, man. Are these like Caspianoids? Are these like Mongolians? Are these like up here? I don't know. Someone start throwing stuff out there. So Kyrgyz. All right, with Kyrgyz we can hedge, but Kyrgyz people usually look a little more, forgive me, chinky, as they say. Over in Tajik, I don't know. Those look way more. Tajiks are like Persians, technically. I mean, we're kind of just throwing in the middle of all of them there. Let's just do it. All right. Would have been better if I'd gone more just in Kazakhstan, like I was thinking. These are just Kazakhs. Andronovo Turanids, Northern Turanid variant, has probably been more widespread prior to the Tungid expansion of Hunnic, Avar, and Chasar tribes, influenced by the old Andronovo type, possibly even early Nordids and Pontids, may be regarded as North Pomerid, probably common in the Neolithic Samara culture, today most common in the Kazan Tatars. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If I guess Kazan, I never just remember where Kazan is on the actual map. Yeah. Kurgan. Remember the Kurgan? Remember when Jay debated the Kurgan? The heck is Kazan, man? Whatever. Either way, Kazakhstan should have guessed a bit north, 3889. A little above now. Got raised our average still a little bit, I guess, but let's go. Oh my gosh. This has to be Cambodia. This has to be like Lao Cambodia border, right? Like between the Laotian guy and King of the Hill and a Cambodian guy I went to college with. I'm really seeing it. Any disagreements here? Anyone kind of counter signal this? As of 20 minutes ago, a French-owned cargo ship in the Gulf was possibly attacked by a missile right in the Strait of Hormuz. So Project Freedom, good thing they collapsed it because it was totally failing. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with this one. Boom. South Palongit, exactly as I anticipated. I guess, yeah, true Laotians here. Southern Palongit variety, weakly influenced by Vedid, typical for the hill tribes of Thailand, Laos, and parts of Vietnam. Occasionally in southern Thailand, southern China, and south of Borneo and the Philippines, older than Shaonids but younger than Vedids. Today in its purest form in Lao Song, Khmu, Lao, Lua, Degar, and common in Lao, Thai, Degar, Khmer, and Karen. Yep. So yeah, a little bit in the Philippines, Borneo, but heartland here is Lao, Thailand, a little bit of Vietnam. So I knew it if they looked Laotian to me. Oh, I feel like I've had this before. I don't exactly know. Guy kind of looks like Levan Vasadze, for keeping it real a little bit. So can't rule out the Caucasus. You know, I think the broadest circle we're in is like this. This is Armenian, yeah. That's what I was thinking. They look like Caucasoids. Yep, Armenid. Widespread type, found in its most specialized form in the mountains of Asia Minor, associated with the ancient Cypriots and the Hittite kingdom, common in Armenians, Turks of mountain regions, Lebanese, and Mazandarani, significant in Georgians, Ossetians, occasionally Azerbaijanis, Kurds, West Persians, Jews across the Mediterranean, so blah, blah, blah. In Central Asia, Syria traces far south to Yemen and India. We're on a roll. We're doing pretty well. Okay. We've had this before. And I'm totally forgetting. They look retarded. So is this like Pakistan? Like, where is this? Someone got to pull this one out because I know we've had it so many times and I'm totally forgetting. Is this North Africa or is this some Basque nonsense? Is this one? This man is Italian from the Adriatic Sea. I don't know about that. I think North Africa could be the play. I think are these Libyans? I think these might be Libyans. Don't say this. Look, this looks nothing like David Erhan, man. This guy looks like an ugly, disgusting gorilla. And David Erhan is a very handsome man. So let's not do that. But I think Libyan is correct. Damn it. I knew it was this nonsense. I knew it was this total nonsense. Paleo Sardinian. Ancient type. Still got a 3400, but ancient type was widespread in Central Europe during the Neolithic. Yeah, these are just like Neanderthals. These are like straight up, yeah. I mean, this wouldn't have got the Italian on the Adriatic would not have gotten me 5,000. It would have gotten me 5,000 was Calabria. So, no, you did not tell me. And if I had guessed Basque or something, I would have probably gotten more points if I had guessed in New Aquitaine, where there are this is also a Basque region in France. So, I was right and you were wrong. And no, this is not Calabria is not on the Adriatic. So, nice try, big guy. All right. What the hell is this? This has got to be some this is like some Solomon Islands, right? Like this is where I've gone like I guess Fiji and gotten it wrong before. I'm pretty sure this is correct. Does anyone want to lock in anywhere else? The guy kind of looks like Chiwetel Ejiofor. But to me, these are clearly like Melanesians. But I'm pretty sure this is correct. Does anybody have any sudden disagreements? I think this is correct. Yep. Insular Melanesia, exactly like I said. I got it. Not Micronesian, not Polynesian, no, not Austronesian, not Polynesian, Melanesian. This is how we do it. Melanesia proper, associated with many Austronesian speakers of Melanesia, similar to Paleo-Melanesid, with softer features common in East Papua, New Britain, New Ireland, Admiralty Islands, Eastern Solomon Islands. See, I guess I would have still gotten some points on Fiji, but I remember last time some of these groups came up, I guessed Fiji, and it was literally every island around me except Fiji for some reason. So yeah, these folks, these peninsular Papuans, I mean, no Bougainville, and this is Bougainville. This can be the newest country in the world next year, but solid 5,000. We're doing well, gang. We're doing well. My low score was 800, and after that, my low score was like 2,000 something or something like that. So we got Shia LaBeouf once again, and I feel like we've gotten this one before. Where is this Shia LaBeouf looking character? And the woman looks like an actress as well. I'm just not getting it. But where is this? Are these like Berbers again of some kind, or are these some kind of Jew? But yeah, we can't let Shia LaBeouf trip us up here. We got 2 more guesses. We might be able to get better even than top 6%. What's everyone thinking? Semitic. Levantine. Berber might be a good guess, actually. Yeah, I'm still thinking like, Algeria again, but I don't really know. You know, a sort of my grandfather used to buy and sell them type situation. Spain. Sephardim. I don't know. People are saying Levant. People are saying North Africa. People are saying Spain. They look pretty Jewish to me. So maybe Sephardim is accurate. Where did someone saying not Spain? Where did most Sephardic Jews in Spain live? Because I'll be honest, they do look like Jews. Hair is too kinky for Spain. They're Jews. Okay? That's the whole point. Hair is too kinky. It's called a Jew fro, dude. Seville. Yeah, so Seville would or Cordoba would be if it's Andalusia. Yeah, you know they're Jews, then you wouldn't say that their hair is too kinky for Spain, you dumb retard. I don't know if they. I mean, these could not be Jews. These could be some kind of Berbers. These could be some freaking people from over here. I'm not 100% sure. The only reason I think they're Jews is because the guy looks like Shia LaBeouf, who's a Jew. So I don't know. Could be some Italian nonsense again. It could be. I don't know. Who knows? It could be some other crazy nonsense. Jews aren't Spanish, are they? Sephardic Jews. Guess where Sephardic Jews live, my friend? Where did most of them come from? Where did most of them spread out to? Latakia. I don't know, man. I don't know if I've seen a lot of videos of Alawites and whatnot. I don't know if that's what we're looking at here. This one's gonna piss me off. Jonathan, you're saying Seville or Latakia? You know, I'm convinced it's probably somewhere over here, but we're just gonna go on this Spain one, just to go out there. Of course. Would have had it. You were right, Jonathan. Not well. I probably, if I was gone where I was, I wouldn't have gotten it. But regardless, that would have been it. Assyroids. Yeah, see, these were Assyrians. Who said that the Assyrians' hair is not that white? Ebor mapping. Semitic. Yeah, I mean, I knew they were Semites. Next round. My chat messages got lagged, delayed. Disappointing. Well, this is some like This is some of this nonsense has to be. We need the Asian assistance on this one. Tibet. I don't know if these are Tibetans. It really doesn't seem correct to me. All right. Everyone seems to be convinced. So, all right. Calm. Robust synod variety. Eastern Tibet. We did it. All right. How high are we today? Top 7%. Dang it. If I just guessed the Syrian one correctly, then I would have gotten better points there. Oh well. Solid round, top 7%. I think this one was good. People in the chat need to calm down. Freaking Franz von Gart here was like, "You're fucking seething because I had the right answer." It's like, well, now you're banned from chat. So hope that was worth it, man. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank all of our super chatters: Rick, Brittany Love, ATX, Eeyore Mapping, Jonathan Kelly, Porphyry Allen, David C, Silversight, and everybody else. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think I'd only meant to put him in timeout. So if somebody wants to invite that Franz character back, I don't know if he needs to be banned forever, but people need to recognize that there's like, you can come in and be a retard in the chat, but there's just like, why would I tolerate that? Like I'm in full control of the situation here. Why would I not just immediately ban you? So food for thought. But I think I did okay. Top 7%, not quite as good as last week. Someone says I'm Orthodox and lean towards flat Earth, that we can't get past the firmament. Did Paisios think we went to the moon? Do you think he was wrong? I mean, certain saints have hinted at they weren't super skeptical of the moon landing, but I mean, Saint Porphyrios said that the universe is limited and has an end, and that it isn't infinite. Even that he had implying that he had been there. So I do think that there is. I think many of the saints that have been able to bilocate and sort of go to the sky and these other places, sort of ascend into heaven while they're still on Earth. I think they recognize that the cosmology of the modern endless vacuum of space is complete nonsense. But at some point here, I probably will endeavor on a bit more of a in-depth study of all of the fathers' perspectives on these things, because I do personally believe, and I mean, I think it's provable in many ways that modern scholarship has generally, those that that respect the fathers and other things, they try to whitewash some of this, and because they think that ancient cosmology is stupid and no one would believe that if they existed now. So I think some of these things aren't as some of the fathers, nobody's talking about St. John Chrysostom's cosmology as much as they're talking about a lot of other stuff, even his opinion on Jews, because people are like, well, they don't want to believe that, the earth is literally flat, and Basil, they don't want to believe, the literal firmament and all these other things. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If there aren't any other super chats, we'll probably start to land this plane. I want to encourage everybody, please support us at worldwarnow.co. That's right. Visit us here. Go to the Ether Hour tab. Please consider getting behind the paywall. $7 a month, $75 a year. You get a bit of a discount. And again, in my opinion, much better than Netflix. All of these episodes are timeless, incredible episodes with Yaqub Saraf, former defense minister of Lebanon. You can scroll way down. Interesting grand strategy analysis episodes from George McMillan, episodes on monarchism with right-wing monarchists in Russia, episodes on the Khazarians with David Patrick Harry, episodes on South America with Jose Nino. A lot of really fantastic stuff. Father John Whiteford, Dave Riley on the Pope situation, a bunch of episodes with Anthony Westgate, all on Kabbalah and the influence of Christian Zionism in the Reformation. Patrick Lancaster, frontline journalist from the Donbass. So many incredible shows. Of course, you get our weekly World War Now episodes. You can also watch the live stream on Substack if you're not already watching on there. Hello again to the Substack audience. Of course, we've got our, if you get behind the paywall, you get full access to our 4.5-hour Death of Empire full documentary translated from Russian about the truth about the Soviet Union and the fall of the Russian Empire. And again, the Ether Hour situation is 106, 117 plus episodes. So really an incredible amount of content. But I want to thank everyone again for tuning in. If you want to support us at the Buy Me a Coffee, go to buymeacoffee.com/World War Now. Support us with a one-time payment, one of the best ways to support us. Be sure to follow us on X. Follow me on Twitter at Gnomrad. That's right. That's me right here. Follow us as well at World War Now _. The stream is there too. We post there all the time. Follow us on Instagram. That's right. If you search at World War Now on Instagram, you will find the account there. We're posting clips. Follow us there. Follow us on Telegram at World War Now Telly. Find us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. If you search World War Now, leave us 5 stars there. And be sure to leave a comment, regardless of where you're watching. Like and share if you think anybody else would be interested in this type of content. But with all of that, I want to thank everyone so much for tuning in. So I hope to see you all next week. There might be more streams. Maybe 2 streams a week might be coming sometime here in the near future. So stay tuned for all of that. And for all of that, I will see you all on the next one. God bless.